Martial arts have traditionally been male-dominated sports, but a group called Australian Girls in Gi is encouraging women to get on the mat and learn self-defence. The group held its first Sydney-based event on Easter Friday.
I make this, I talk about making something a definite. I know that this isn't going anywhere. So those hips, they're only going to kind of be able to do this. Yeah. That I can fight.
Jess Fraser is the founder of Australian Girls in Gi and has been steadily building the community from her home base in Melbourne.
It's really good. Like, we have huge events now. The initial camp 5 years ago had 38 women at it, and I told the whole world. I thought it was the greatest thing ever. 38 women training in one place. You got to understand, back in the day, like, at the most we'd ever had at the Campax was 30 women. So 38 women rolling together was crazy for us. And last night there was more than that on the mat here at my BJJ. So, the camp at the beginning of the year had 120 women on the mat on Saturday morning, which is amazing. Like, definitely leading the world in that with women on the mat. Yeah.
Jess teaches Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or BJJ, a martial art that teaches students to control and submit an opponent on the ground. She believes these skills can help women be safer.
I think that confidence is a good self-defense for women, and I think that BJJ gives you real confidence. It reminds you of realities of things, in that people aren't measuring sparring with you, they're sparring with you at 100%, and initially that can be really intimidating and you can't win, but it's good to know that, and so later on, when you do get some skills and you're handling guys that come in off the street, you realise that it is a self-defense, but the biggest thing is investing in yourself, like, self-worth is the biggest self-defense that you can get. If I feel like I'm the kind of woman that deserves to be treated well within my relationship in my home, within my relationships in my family and in the public, that's self-defense.
A belt system is used to distinguish experience level in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Students begin as white belts and progress through blue, purple and brown before finally receiving a black belt. Hope Douglas is a purple belt that competes internationally and teaches women's classes in Sydney's inner west.
Jiu-Jitsu is definitely the best form of self-defense for women. Because we don't use striking, it's not strength-based at all. It's very self-defense orientated. So because we're not using strength, we're not using striking, it means that a smaller person can overcome a larger person by using technique, momentum and timing. So you can actually use the other person's weight against them. So it doesn't matter if they're so big, if you have the technique, you can overcome them. The other thing is that most fights end up on the ground, particularly for a woman in a self-defense situation. She's going to end up in a vulnerable position on the ground, and Jiu-Jitsu is one of the only sports that actually teaches how to defend yourself there and how to get out of the ground situation.
Lisa Holmes is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu student who trains under Hope and has recently become more involved with Australian Girls in Gi.
Well, I've only really just joined in the past 6 to 8 months, so I started on the Facebook page and I suppose joined up there, and then I actually went to the camp for the first time in January. So there's a weekend camp down in Melbourne. Over 100 girls turned up, and I think it's more sort of the camaraderie that you get in that sort of group, and everyone faces the same sort of problems, and so it's nice to have that outlet to be able to there's someone there that's already experienced that same frustration or sort of issue that you particularly have as a girl in a male-dominated sport.
At the group's most recent event in Sydney, women trained together for several hours and discussed techniques before taking photos and sharing in a traditional group hug.